The Bowling Green Parks and Recreations Department offers a unique and wide variety of responsibilities that serve the public. One of those responsibilities is the maintenance and upkeep of the cemeteries throughout Bowling Green. With over 109 acres of land throughout each of the cemeteries, facility workers ensure that every cemetery is upkept for your loved ones. In today's Spotlight on Bowling Green, we will take a closer look at what workers' day-to-day operations look like and the important role they have in our city.
Of course, we have two divisions within Fairview Cemetery. We have administrative staff and we have maintenance staff. Administrative staff, we have two part-time office administrators. So with administrative, we're here to greet the public. And it's kind of be the face of the cemetery when they come in, to greet the families. When they come in and looking for a grave or trying to purchase a grave, be there during their time of need. Or to finalize what's been already there when they've already had a grave purchase that's been in the family. We in turn take that information and pass it along to the guys to let them prepare on what needs to be done from there. Our number one priority, of course, are burials. We have to do preparation for burials, but then, of course, we have to do ground maintenance on top of that. So we're mowing 109 acres, is what we have, 109 acres that we maintain. So that's mowing and weed trimming. Then on top of that, we do foundations for monuments that are placed out here. So Fairview Cemetery requires foundations. They are also in charge for section maintenance, keeping everything clean, picked up, presentable, just kind of like your yard. You know, we want to keep it nice and manicured.
Usually I come in, we get the gates unlocked, and we got a few areas that we have to take care of, and then I come up and see that everybody's here, and I go to the office and pick up the work orders for the day. And we see what we got prepared for the day and start distributing out the work orders according to who is available.
My day today is kind of like Mitchell was telling you earlier. When he comes back from the office with the work orders for the day, I work alongside of the operator doing the graves, digging the graves. He comes in, brings the paperwork. We go out, check the site to see how our setup's going to be for the morning or the day. We then prepare the site with a layout, and we double check each other on that. So I help oversee the setup of it, the digging of it, the moving of the tents, whatever. I help oversee all that along with anybody else. We always double check each other.
And then they're also doing grave maintenance, of keeping up with seeding and strawing graves, adding dirt if they're low. Then we sod once a year. To help anybody that was buried the year before, we put a fresh carpet of sod on top of those graves. But it's a year-round effect. You know, we start with mowing and weed trimming. We just started this week. And then we'll go all the way through until probably the 1st of December. And then we'll be mulching leaves. But the guys take great pride in what they do. You know, when they want to see something done, they like to see that it's done right and it's manicured, and they want to make sure it complements. So we ask that the patrons that are here when they're visiting, you know, to be respectful of that too, and that when they're putting things out, you know, the reason we do a cleanup during the spring is that it eliminates our staff having to get off a mower to move things out of a way, so we can go straight through and keep everything nice and mowed and weed-eated without going through 40,000 graves and moving things. When we do anything with the cemetery, I mean, we all have to work together. Though there's two divisions, we all complement each other. We have a heavy equipment operator that operates the backhoe and the actual loaders that we have. But a lot of other staff are trained, are being cross-trained in that too. We in turn fill out an interment request and given the detail of the individual that's passed away, the location of where the grave is going to be, what type of container. At Fairview Cemetery, we don't require an outside container, so but that's one of the questions on there. Try to be as detailed as possible so our staff has as much information they need in our maintenance staff to take that information and prepare the site. Our staff will go out and mark the grave to ensure that it is the correct grave. Then we have another quality control where another staff member within the office goes back to see if it's the same grave, because we have our maps that we use and we have a database that we go through to find that grave to make sure. So office staff has marked it twice. We in turn give it to our maintenance staff, who they in turn take it and go and look to see if it's the right grave or not. So 3 people are ensuring to make sure that it's the correct grave. All our graves are pinned, so there's pins out there. People will not realize, but there have been graves that have been pinned, so our guys will find those pins. for those graves. Then we'll have a frame that they lay out, and then they'll edge that grave out, and exactly the size based on if it's a casket or if it's an outside container or the size of the casket. Edge it out and loosen it up to where the sod is up. So when the backhoe operator is in and the heavy equipment operator is in his machine, he can go back down in and use that as his outline to outline the grave.
We have a backhoe operator. The backhoe has to have something to put in the dirt in as they're digging the graves. Once it's dug and cut out correctly, sometimes when they dig, they run into rock. We have to drill, blast, jackhammer, whatever it is that we have to do to get these graves at the right depth to be ready for burial.
There's times we may have to hit rock. So we may have to use a bigger piece of equipment to get it out, or we may have to do a little bit of blasting to get the rock out.
I help oversee the setup of it, the digging of it, the moving of the tents, whatever. I help oversee all that along with anybody else. We always double check each other.
And they may have to be inside that grave to actually get it nice and edged out so the actual casket or the outside container can be lowered into that area. COVID's really challenged our staff in all aspects, even here in the office, but in the maintenance. We have to be very diligent in making sure that we are safe so we can provide a service to the public. We've not ever missed because of COVID. So our staff has been, again, very diligent in making sure we have good safety measures. And with that, we were having to do a lot of our scheduling where if they were on the mowing crew, we would have to schedule around to say if we had a service, we'd have to tell the mowing crew they'd have to stop for a few minutes, come over to help the pallbearers.
If we're not having any graves to dig, I'm doing foundation work for headstones, or if we are behind on mowing, I will jump on a mower and mow to help catch up on that, or weed eating.
It helps with foundation, it helps the delay of the monument sinking into the ground. If you'll notice the older ones across in our older part of the cemetery, a lot of those didn't require a foundation, so the headstones are starting to sink into the ground. So we're trying to delay that process. It doesn't eliminate it, but it does delay it. But we come through, so if a family calls and say, hey, Kathy, you know, my monument, it seems to be leaning on one side, and we did have a foundation. Well, we'll come back in, make more foundation stuff underneath there to get it leveled off on there to keep it leveled.
Of course, digging the foundations, you use a shovel, measuring tools, measuring tapes. On doing the graves, same thing. You use a shovel to lay them out. We have a rack. This is the exact measurement of the grave site itself. So I use some heavy equipment, and if the operator's not here for that day, I am the backup operator too. So I also dig the graves when he's not present.
We're seeing a big uptick in cremations. So of course we're looking at, we do have columbariums back in our Cemetery 2 section near our koi pond. So we have 2 columbariums back there with niches in there for our cremations. We have the potential of putting in 4 more in there. So that's something that'll be probably utilized a lot more. We are looking at the possibility of putting in mausoleums. Now that is something that's been discussed. We've done some research on it. We've been doing some tallying some figures on that. But you have community mausoleums, and that's an above ground crypt, as you would say, on there. You do have community ones, and we're looking at the community version of it. You have some that are in our cemetery there where individuals have chosen to be buried above ground. So it's like a large monument where you can place the loved one in that way there. What we're looking at is a community mausoleum to where you would probably get a couple of hundred in one section of a building here and maybe another one there, above ground there.
We have cremations. Cremations are dug according to the size of the container that they have for them. We also have burials that are put in little small mausoleums, which is called a niche.
Of course, we have seasonals. I mean, seasonal things that they do. You know, of course, our guys, again, they work well together. We're a good family here, and they complement each other. They have each one of them has their own special task that they can bring to the game, and you know, and that's wonderful that they can kind of bounce off each other ideas. They work well with that. But you know, like any given day, you know, things can change. I mean, like right now, we have no services today. However, they're already digging 2 graves, preparing for a burial on Thursday and preparing for a burial on Friday. When you're here day to day, you know, people take it for granted. And I took it for granted because I would drive by here and you just realize how much work goes on every day. I mean, there is something always being done here. You know, either it's working on fountains, or it's fixing a stone, or fixing a grave, or preparing for a gravesite. You know, we have something going on every day. We're burying loved ones, you know, and unfortunately people are passing away still. And we're here to be that final process for the families there. And we work very closely with the funeral homes. You know, we want to be a good tag team with all them too. And lady told me, says, you know, the first thing when people come into the city and they say, oh, it's such a beautiful cemetery. Okay? They're taking so much care of their past loved ones. That means they're going to take care of the ones that are living. You know, if they're taking so great care of the ones that are here that have passed away, can you imagine what they're taking care of the ones that are here? The services that they provide for the ones that are still alive. So I think, you know, we take great care here with our staff, take great pride in what they do. They want to see a product that's there, we see it. People pass up and down this road every day. People don't even take it for granted, you know. But there's that one individual that may say, hey, doesn't it look pretty? Beautiful trees, nice manicured, oh, the mowing looks great. When we put wreaths out at Christmas time for our veterans, and you know, we had over 1,100 wreaths. People drive, oh, that's so beautiful. Our staff thinks, you know, if we want to make sure everything's nice and striped, you know, and we do take offense sometimes if things are not done right. We want to make sure we get it done right the first time. And it is hard for a staff of 6 people to do. You know, when you have over 100 acres to maintain, it's not just an open field. You have a lot of monuments and trees. Their work that's being judged when they're out there, because they'll say, I know I did that section.
To learn more about Bowling Green Parks and Recreation or any other services within Bowling Green, please call 270-393-3000 or visit bgky.org.